career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it.
So that is R&B singer R. Kelly, notorious predator and gaslighter, as you can see from that interview with Gayle King a couple years ago. And he was recently sentenced, finally, to 30 years in prison for his for being a sex trafficker, essentially, and an abuser, and preying on minors, and all of the things, and in all the dozens and dozens and dozens of witnesses, many of whom testified in his trial. So he was sentenced to 30 years on Wednesday following his conviction last year on federal racketeering, sex trafficking charges stemming from his efforts to, over the years, use his fame to ensnare victims he sexually abused. Prosecutors asked for 55 to more, prosecutors asked the judge to sentence Kelly, who is 55, to more than 25 years behind bars, while his defense attorneys asked for 10 or fewer, saying prosecutors' request was tantamount to a life sentence. Instead, it was 30. The 5-week federal trial in Brooklyn included testimony from witnesses who say they were sexually and physically abused by R. Kelly. The court also heard from people involved with orchestrating the disgraced R&B singer's 1994 marriage to late singer Aaliyah when she was just 15 years old and he was an adult, after she believed she'd gotten pregnant. Yeah, cool. So let's hear from some of those victims. I just quoting from Lizette Martinez, who, responding to that 30-year sentence, says, "I personally don't think it's enough, but I'm pleased with it." Martinez says she was a girl full of life who dreamed of becoming a singer when she was roped into the disgraced R&B star's orbit and turned into a sex slave. Then another victim writes, or says, "There wasn't a day in my life that I actually believed the judicial system would come through for Black and brown girls." Cunningham said, and Jovante Cunningham first met Kelly at age 14 and said his abuse spanned 30 years, and 30 years is what he got. These are often young women, they're women of color, they're Black women. And if I encourage everyone to watch the documentary Surviving R. Kelly, it is difficult, but it is necessary. And it really also sheds a light back on American society overall and how much we ignored the crimes of R. Kelly because many of his victims were young Black girls. Erin, thoughts on this verdict?
Yeah, I mean, I think that R. Kelly, the fact that he was able to do this for so long is a testament to the fact that powerful people will get away with what they can get away with for as long as they can. And if they get away with something that seems really over the top or egregiously wrong, they're just going to keep escalating and escalating and escalating until somebody puts a stop to it. It's so good to see him finally being put behind bars for this. I feel like this has been something that's been going on for a really long time. The public being aware of how awful he is, how awful he's been. You know, I lived and worked in Chicago when I was right out of college, and the rumors back then, even back then in 2005, were everywhere. Anybody, if you talk to any educators, if you talk to people who lived and worked on the South Side, they would tell you something awful about R. Kelly. And it's great to see the justice system coming through on behalf of his victims. And 30 years, life sentence, fine by me. If somebody's got to go to jail, let it be R. Kelly.
Absolutely, and I hope he is not up for parole. Like that, there has to be a close eye watched on that situation. And again, remember that when the premiere of that documentary that detailed all of those allegations and all of his victims, when that premiere came out, there was a bomb threat called in. Like the lives and the safety of these victims, the lengths they went to speak out is huge and enormous and ongoing. And so I also don't want to only see R. Kelly face justice, but what about all the people, all the handlers, the publicists, the people who helped and aided and abetted such a powerful man? These things don't happen alone. They don't happen in a vacuum. But we rarely cover the fallout of the wingmen and women who often help abusers get away with their crimes.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.